Hey, Scott Jordan and Mark Warner here for Jancast number 180. 180, Mark. That means we're getting close to 200. Boy, oh boy, getting exciting.
It's amazing. And when hundreds and thousands and almost millions of downloads later,
Yeah, that's
we're
right.
at
So that's
show number 180.
so this is for December 5th, 2024. Well, we haven't done a show in quite some time because we've been very, very busy. You've been very busy too, Mark. We've just been having a grand old time out there, flying to and from Las Vegas and all that jazz, huh?
Well, Las Vegas kind of greeted us with open arms. Well, maybe not exactly, but the ISSA show was a success for us. And I think the ISSA shows in general can either be successful or a failure depending on how you work the show.
Yep.
And I saw people hanging out in their booth with lazy boy chairs and suntan lotion on, and they didn't have anybody, and we were busy as hell.
Well, it's funny. You pointed out that one exhibitor that yet we will remain unnamed that just sat there through the last time we saw them 2 years ago. They just sat there too, and this time they sat there. I felt bad for them, when we were all packed up at the end of the show, and they were still sitting there waiting for their box. Yeah, it was a good start. We got the Vegas okay. It's freezing cold there, but what was the cool thing we saw when we just checked and we got to the airport, right?
Yeah, first thing we saw coming down the escalator or up the escalator was a Lego Indy car, which was wild open wheel race car built out of Legos. I took a picture of it and sent it to my son, and he wrote it back saying, "Oh, wow," because he was Mr. Lego when he was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a pretty big box that Lego came in.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, so that was cool. We got our bags okay, so there's no hiccup there, and we got the Uber.
The bags were not delayed.
That's and we figured out the Uber, which they definitely have the Uber thing down a lot more than the last time we were there. They had a whole section and had warnings as to which row you wanted to go into. So yeah, I mean, all the Uber people were complaining about the F1 race, but yeah, but we made it to the hotel.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they were all banking too, though, because there was a lot of people around. So
yeah,
they might have been complaining about being busy, but I think they were not complaining about making money. That the fee just to get from the airport to the hotel was probably twice what I remember it being on a kind of a normal.
I think that was before the surcharge kicked in, because the surcharge, they had a Uber surcharge that kicked in, I think like on Tuesday or something. Not the day we arrived on Sunday. I think it was the next day here. But
the good news, though, Scott, was the Uber ride to the show from the hotel didn't cost us a cent on day one on Monday.
Well, that's the advantage of staying at the Mandalay Bay.
Yeah,
is you never had to leave the facility, right?
Exactly. We just walked down. We found a shortcut through the outdoor pool beach area, and boom, we were right there at the convention center. That was pretty cool. Got over there at 8 o'clock in the morning to find
no box. That's right. We only have one box. That's all we needed was one box. And we paid, God, I mean, I'm not even going to mention how much money we paid, but to get the box from the loading dock to our booth location was about $900. And I believe it was, you guys walked over to the loading dock. It was like 50 yards away, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it must have been fraught with danger.
So yeah, so the routine was we go over, check if the box is there. That's like at 8 o'clock. The box isn't there. They said, "Don't worry, it's here." We knew it was there already. We just didn't know where it was. So then we went for the first of one of many very expensive breakfasts, right?
Yes, that's true. That $22 cup of coffee, and well, no, it wasn't the coffee.
I think the restaurant we went into was like $40 a person. But it was damn good breakfast, though.
Yes, it was an expensive breakfast, but it was a good breakfast. That was really excellent.
Yeah.
So then we got back, and the box was there, and so we popped it all up, and nothing turned on.
That's right, because the electric wasn't hooked up. But I went over and talked to them. They said, "Don't worry, yeah, you got it." It's that I had to show pictures of the different plugs. It was like, "Oh, you got the wrong plugs there," and then I don't think it was you to talk to the electrical person, wasn't it, Steve? Steve talked to him.
Probably, yeah.
The guy
Wasn't
showed up and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll get to it, okay? Don't worry. Yeah, we got to. We're going on break." And I think the guy was just giving Steve a hard time because it's like 5 minutes later, he came back and hooked it up.
yeah, which was like he had to plug it in.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah,
So,
and the guy said, "Well, you really didn't need three of those units. You could have plugged everything into one." I was like, "I don't know. You never know what you're supposed to do as far as
yeah.
that's concerned." But so we got all set up, and then we
Uh,
just kind of kicked back because we couldn't go to the pool because the air temperature was 50 degrees outside, even though the water was 82 or something. So if you wanted to hang out in the pool, you're good until you got out.
well, we had a great meal that night, though. That was fantastic. And we had to issue warnings to all of our entourage not to accidentally bump the snack tray or the refrigerator in their rooms.
Right. Yeah, that was very disappointing. So we had really, really
It
good
had
dinner.
motion detectors on it, Scott.
Yeah. So Wolfgang Pucks, we had a very nice dinner because I knew after that we were going to be working and a nice dinner out it wasn't going to be that easy. So we had a great dinner, but a couple of you guys had like 3 pound pork chops or something like that, where it would have been beneficial to take something back and heat it up in your microwave in your room, but you couldn't touch the refrigerator because if you even opened it up, you'd be charged like $90 for all the stuff that was in it because you moved something, right? So which the guy said, "You want to take your leftovers?" And it's like, "I'd love to, but what are we going to do with them?"
Yeah.
So the way it goes.
Yeah, that was unusual. I guess I've never seen a refrigerator or a snack tray with a motion detector on it in my life. But I mean, that's Vegas, right?
Yeah,
But I can say in defense of the show, I mean, day one was probably one of the busiest days
yeah,
that I've seen in many years, to be
yeah.
honest. It was, I think your comment at the end of that day was we saw more leads that day than we sometimes came back with at the end of a 3 day
Yeah,
exhibit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, keeping in mind we weren't in the show last year, so we kind of didn't know what to expect. So I don't know if our great lead generation was because people were looking for us and really wanted to learn about our stuff. I mean, we did a lot of pre-show prep, obviously. That's a very important, a lot of advertising in the magazines. We did free video stuff and all that. So, I mean, it was certainly encouraging the number of leads we got, and we used their new app, which I thought was very helpful. I don't know if it was completely different than the previous one, but it seemed to work a lot better than the ones we had before, where we were able to put in qualifiers. So we preloaded all the stuff that we were featuring in the booth, so it made it a good way to kind of easily check off what somebody wanted. So the system worked quite well. I thought. I mean, now we have to do something with the leads, obviously, but we got a nice mix.
I love that it did give you the qualifier checklist. So the
Yeah,
things that we kind of had in mind as a mission that we wanted to accomplish with this show, we were able to kind of spell out in our qualifiers.
yeah,
Things that we wanted to make sure were discussed, and then so that we knew what to follow up on as well. So
yeah,
well, one of the biggest hits happened to be the Citro RX being dispensed through the Riva
yeah,
wipe unit,
yeah.
which, as we look through the qualifiers, we got a lot of hits on Citro RX as well as the Riva Clean unit. So I'm guessing they might have been related. If that's the case,
Yeah.
that would have been probably one of the most dominant. The Frothy was a hit, but that was because hundreds of thousands of people were walking around with Frothy badges on.
Well, I thought the really cool thing was out of the leads, the Riva Clean was probably the leader, but we had a Philadelphia salesperson that was really killing it. You know, uh, Gary Borowski was in the booth for those of you that know Gary. He really shined. He did a great job pulling people into the booth. But right after that, as far as the total number of leads, we had just as many people interested in private label, which I think that's a very interesting trend. Just because maybe with all the acquisitions and all the buyouts and everything else that people are looking at, they don't want to be selling the same stuff as everybody else. And some of those big guys have manipulated some of the brands so that private labels may be more popular now than it's ever been, right?
Yeah, well, that was some of the feedback that we were getting from folks at the show. The bigger question is how to differentiate themselves
Yeah,
from all their competitors, because all the competitors in their regions seem to be offering the same brands,
yeah, yeah,
which obviously puts some pricing pressure on what it can be sold for.
yeah, yeah. So good, good amount of leads. And we still have to kind of analyze the whole thing, but I was pretty encouraged. I mean, we have to follow up as salespeople with the leads, but just to put it in perspective, since we've kind of run over expense accounts since then, but and I'm not going to go into the total booth cost, but it's roughly around $3,000 a person for us to have a person, a person from Bullen go to the show, and that's not covering the cost of the booth or anything else. So it's not cheap, and the show's changed considerably based on the leads we got. We got awful lot of end users, and I think Mark, you had commented it was kind of a different mix of end users. In the past, people would just be like with garbage bags, just anything that wasn't nailed down, they were like scooping off of our demo table.
Yeah.
But we didn't have much of that.
No, it was an awful lot of, I think, senior management
Yeah,
rather than, let's say, the frontline worker kind of thing, which is what we used to see a lot of. The folks coming by, open up their bag and want to scoop all the free samples to take it with
yeah,
them. But didn't see that so much. I thought it was a pretty high caliber group of attendees.
yeah, yeah. But then you did a little work there for the ISSA, which ties in with, I mean, back in the day, it used to be distributors would come and learn from other distributors how to run their businesses. No, none of that's going on anymore, but a lot of end user stuff, which you were involved in, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good description. In years gone by, a lot of the classes and seminars were about running distributorships. And although this year there were more educational seminars and certification classes than they've had in the past, I think it was their largest to date. But a lot of that wasn't necessarily aimed at distributors running their own business. It was all aimed at how
Yeah,
service providers could work more effectively and more efficiently. So things like robotics and things like workloading and staffing and task inspections and auditing and all those managerial kind of tasks that go into being a service provider. I think those were the ones that generated the largest influx of folks, including things like they did a certified hard floor specialist
hmm
class,
yeah,
which Stan Hewlin was the
yeah. I
instructor
heard a
for
lot of
that.
people were at that.
And that was really not, it wasn't, it didn't seem to draw anybody from distribution, but it certainly drew a large crowd, 94 people in that
Yeah,
class. And that was mostly service providers. And the same thing for Mark Exner that did the certified carpet technician class. My program that I did for them was the accredited auditing professional class. So it was all very, very high-end folks,
yeah,
C-suite, CEO, COOs, all trying to work on their quality assurance programs. But really, to your point, really more service provider oriented.
yeah, yeah. So I got to go to the past president's lunch, which was very nice. So that's a yearly thing, and kind of interesting to see who shows up. The room was not exactly the best for hearing impaired old people like me, but it was nice to see everybody, and everybody kind of goes around the table and talks about their personal life with their family and how their business is doing. A lot of people are retired, but it's always a nice affair to get together with that group. A lot of them I served with, or they served under me when I was past president. But yeah, and then we, I think I missed the award ceremony, didn't I? Kind of.
That was with John Carroll,
Oh,
and
yeah, I'm sorry.
all
Yeah,
the
yeah, that was
past
cool.
presidents
Yeah,
were kind of filtered over and sat in the row in front of me.
yeah,
John Carroll got an award for a manufacturer rep kind
Yeah.
of award, but not. It was interesting. The reason why he got the award was because all the rep groups wanted to recognize him as introducing the concept of a rep award
Yeah.
back when you were president then.
Yeah, it was pretty
Um,
controversial at the time. They didn't even want reps to show up at the show,
yeah, yeah.
let alone get awards. So but yeah, it was. And John really did do a lot back in the day to kind of get that in place because it was kind of frustrating, I think, at that time period.
The
So
other
that was when
award
they weren't
that,
sure they even wanted end users in the show.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was on the board during that discussion about the concept of opening it up to include end users and not just be supply chain. But, as a result of that, the ISSA has tripled its size. So,
Yeah.
it just goes to show that there's a lot of people providing services, probably a lot more than are engaged with just the supply chain alone.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, it was kind of interesting. The other award that was fantastic was the Jimmy Core Award, and that was
Oh, yeah.
delivered by Jimmy's father. Jimmy was a young man, passed away unexpectedly, and his parents put together a nonprofit to recognize people that were doing things for people that were downtrodden or needed help.
Yep.
And a gentleman from Brady Plus
Yep.
was awarded that. Constantine, I think his name
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And he was awarded that because of all the charitable work he had done
Yeah.
for um, individuals in his community. And I thought that was really an honorable thing.
Yeah.
I was really moved by that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah. So overall, the facility was nice. I guess it's because you couldn't go anywhere very easily. The food was outrageously expensive. We kind of joked about it, but my morning Starbucks routine, which was a small Americano, which is otherwise called a black coffee with one sugar, and a thing of orange juice, and a pretty small breakfast sandwich, $24 each day, $24.
I had a $21 hot dog, and it was the best $21 hot dog I've ever had in my life. You know why? Because I've never had a $21 hot dog before in my life. Didn't know there was such a thing.
I was at Home Depot the other day and I said, "Hey, can I give you $21 for that hot dog?" He said, "No, what are you crazy? This hot dog's only worth $3."
What I
And
liked about the facility is that it was, even though it was kind of expensive, water was like $6 a bottle, but and you just dry out without the water, you probably would die. But I did enjoy the fact that it was a relatively new facility. Like the
yeah,
whole complex just had a newness about it, which was great. Although there were aspects of it that were challenging, right, Scott?
yeah, yeah. Well, aside from the food and I thought the casino was quiet. That was kind of nice. It wasn't as loud as the other casinos, but I don't know if that's something specifically did. But in the case of the show, I guess it wasn't as bad as the wagon wheel from, I think that was Dallas or Houston back in the day. That was like the worst show ever because you had to go to the center to be able to get to anything else. Now, this one was confusing because it was an L shaped, and if you got lost on the which turn you are, you ended up like missing half of the show because I tried to walk it, and it was very confusing to figure out where you were.
Well, I had a lot of people comment to me that somehow the way it was designed, people were getting themselves somewhat turned around
Yes, that's what I
and
meant. Yeah.
disoriented, And Mel Dean said it to me. He goes, I keep getting lost. Like, wow. But you keep showing up here. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
We're
we
on a
had because of
made.
our seniority, we had excellent positioning on the show floor. We were like on the main drag. I felt kind of bad for the people that when I did walk the show floor, the people are like back in the left corner. It was like, man,
Yeah, no
it must be a
traffic.
little slow. I heard one of those guys in that neck of the woods got 7 leads out of the whole show. So maybe
Ouch.
they weren't showing the right product. I don't know. But
Well, the booth we were joking about when we started the show probably got 7 leads too, because only 7 people were willing to walk over to them while they were sitting in their lazy boy chair.
yeah,
But
yeah,
little did anybody know they were literally practicing on the wait for the box at the end of.
yes.
They were practicing for 3 days.
Yeah, we got lucky. I'm not going to go into any more detail. I don't want to jinx things, but boy, the box came quicker than weren't even back from changing out of our dress clothes into our taking the booth down clothes before the box arrived. So thank you for whoever was responsible for that. And Kim, you know who I'm talking about.
We got treated good.
So to end off on the show, we decided kind of intermittent. I first decided, and Steve decided, and you decided we're going to take the red eye back, which seemed like a great idea. But let me. Here's here's what I forgot to bring. You needed this blackout because I pulled my hood over my head, and I'm in the exit row, and I had to warn the ladies that were next to me. I said before we even took off because it looked like they were going to be up all night. I said, ladies, I have a very important meeting tomorrow, and I need to sleep. So, and I have long legs, and I'm sitting in the exit row because I want to stretch my legs out. So if you need to get up when I'm asleep, you need to climb over me. And they said, no problem. We got it. We got it. Fortunately, about 15 minutes in, the two ladies passed out, went to sleep, whatever you want to call it. So I got 3 hours of sleep. So I don't know. Would you do the red eye again, Mark?
Well, it's not the first red eye I've done, and odds are
But
really
better than
that
the
it's
last one,
not
I
the
think.
last red eye I'm ever going to do. But it worked out well because we got home sooner,
Yeah.
So I mean that part, especially the fact that it was coincidentally scheduled like days before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
But so it was of value to get back that extra day because I had people showing up that weekend
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving week, my kids.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that the red eye, I felt it for a couple of days. Like I just was in a fog for a day or two just from going whatever 40 hours without sleep.
Yeah. But keep in mind, our choice was to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning
That's right.
on Friday morning, which means you would have had to gotten up at three o'clock in the morning to leave the hotel on time. So which was worse, getting on the red
Sad.
eye at 10:30 and getting in at 6, or getting up for the 6 o'clock flight at 3 o'clock in the morning? I think the red eye. And if you
I
wear the sleeping mask, you're even better.
I think Star Trek had it nailed when they said, "Scotty, beam me over." That's
Yeah,
what we need to get back and forth from Vegas.
something else.
Anyway,
There you go. Well, great way to end the show. Well, thanks for the recap. And we are coming back with the next Jancast, which I don't know when that's going to be, 2 weeks from now. We're going to get back into the science because we had hundreds of people come by the booth and say, we love the science of cleaning. Keep doing your work. So we're going to get all those scientific people back on, and we keep talking about this isn't just about, cleaning with all-purpose cleaner. This is about the science of cleaning, right?
that's right.
Damn
That's
right.
right.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for tuning in, folks. Sorry for the delay in getting back to you. If you want to see the show, I'll put a link below the video. We have all the we have 4 videos up. The setup day 1, day 2, day 3, which is also considered the last day. They're all up on the ISSA page, but I'll send you a link for that so you can watch it all. Watch the last one. The last one's good because they gave a shout out to my dad for that one, for the Botox.
Wow. That was that
Yep.
was good.
Okay. See y'all.
Thanks, everybody.